What's up, my gnomies? This is Dour Gnome Adventures.
Well done. Well done.
I'm glad I got the reaction. That's awesome.
Excellent.
So,
if that's what you were going for, mission accomplished.
I'm gonna start over though.
Why? This is amazing.
No, keep it rolling. Keep it rolling.
Yeah, let's just keep it. You want it to be genuine. That's pretty genuine, yeah.
What's up, my gnomies? This is Dour Gnome Adventures, an actual play podcast of Paizo's Rusthenge adventure. I am the GM, Ryan. Let me introduce you to our virtual tabletop. Matt, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Matt. I'm from New York City. I've been playing role-playing games pretty much since I was a teenager, and I'm very old now. Primarily, I've played stuff in the Dungeons & Dragons ecosystem, including Pathfinder with that. But my favorite stuff outside of that area is it's kind of cyberpunk stuff, Shadowrun, cyberpunk. But also, I like playing mutant animal stuff like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Really excited to do this. I'm so excited to get to work with such a talented group of people.
Next, we have Mark. Can you tell the listeners something about yourself?
Yeah, hey folks, I'm Mark. I'm outside of Chicago. I am a little bit newer to gaming. I started Pathfinder about 5 years ago and have played through a couple of APs as well as consuming some audio content, which you're hearing today. Thanks for having me, folks.
Dimitri, what say you?
I say that I was born in Odessa, Ukraine, but I've lived in New York City most of my life at this point. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons and Derivatives since 3rd edition.
I like and derivatives.
Well, Pathfinder 1 started out as a fork, kind of 3.5, and I, at one point, memorized like 95% of the 3rd edition PHP because my first GM wasn't exactly running 3rd, despite all of us thinking that it was. It's a story. Anyway, point is, I've been coasting on that knowledge, and I've tried to read as little of Pathfinder 2e as possible to see where that's, still the same as it used to be and where it's not. I've touched multiple role-playing systems over the many years that I've played, some at cons, some for one-shot, some for shorter campaigns, but mostly I keep coming back to 3rd edition and company.
And Brian, why don't you close us out on the introductions?
Yes, hi, hello. I have been called many things, some good, some bad, but Brian will do. I exist almost entirely on the internet and in your head. I'm really just here for the bringing of the chaos.
Okay.
All right, awesome. Well, welcome everybody. It's our first recording. So we thought it would be fun to share our experience learning Pathfinder 2nd edition. None of us have played before, though we all have some experience playing and running RPGs. Some of us just finished Curse of the Crimson Throne after 3+ years and are in the end game of Rise of the Rune Lords, which has gone on for nearly 4 years.
Yup.
Our experiences, for some of us anyway, date back nearly 30 years to 1st edition D&D. I would be one of those.
Ditto.
My first foray, I think I was in 6th grade.
I was intensely lucky. One of my best friends in elementary school had the basic set, the red box basic set. And I remember very, very vividly that initial encounter in the adventure in the basic set is the welcome mat of the dungeon slides aside and a carrion crawler pops out of it. And it is one of those memories that has kept me in the hobby.
We are a group of Gen Xers and Zennials who like to have fun. Can these old dogs learn new tricks? Stay tuned.
I feel as goblins were obligated to say no to the dog.
Yeah, no dogs.
It's true.
Only goblin dogs.
Dogs.
Goblin dogs are so much better than dogs. I'm sorry.
Let's get into session 0 where we start building our characters. Before we start building our characters, I do have one question.
Yeah.
What brought or keeps you coming back to RPGs? So I'll start with my answer. It's like I get to be in a B movie. Like, I don't have to be a good actor, but I can just have fun playing a character. I get to try different characters all the time. Especially if I play poorly, I get to try more characters. But as GM, I get to try all the characters. I really enjoy that aspect. I just get to be a low-grade actor with terrible voices.
And currently unpaid.
And unpaid. I get paid in laughs. What about you, Brian? I'll start there.
So what brings me to RPGs coming back? I mean, I have had an entirely long life of love affairs with RPGs and gaming in general, thanks in large part due to my uncles getting me involved in both D&D and Magic when I was like 9 or 10 years old. A very impressionable youth. I kind of stuck with it since then, and I always had my head in the clouds anyway. I was always reading a book or, watching movies or anything like that, so the escapism and the fantasies, I get to do anything that I would like, and I love that.
What about you, Dimitri?
The stories. And I don't mean this character has an adventure arc and nothing can possibly happen to them until it is complete. No, I mean it's like, that's a 3. That means my story ends here, but I'd like to see how the rest of the plot plays out, so I guess you guys are going to find a suspiciously similar leveled adventure next time you visit town. And switching characters isn't, exactly conductive to stories, but when it happens as a result of dice rolls, what you going to do?
What about you, Mark?
So I was primarily brought to tabletop RPGs because I was a lover of turn-based tactics, but I quickly fell in love from there with the collaborative storytelling aspect. So being able to joke around at the table and, in addition, leave the fate to dice and kind of have that compel and drive the story in a meaningful way outside of, similar to Ryan, the very poor acting that I might bring. So that's kind of what's kept me going. And it's something that I've had fun doing over the years, and I continue to hope to have fun doing.
And Matt, why don't you take us home on this one?
Oh God, I've been using role-playing games to tell stories as long as I can remember. Whether it's just ridiculous comedy stuff. I've been running Paranoia, the West End Games version, since college. And that's just a great way to just do silly things together. I like the strategy aspect of role-playing games. Mark talked about turn-based tactics. I'm totally in that boat with him. I love coming up with an idea of something to do in my head and going, I have a really stupid thing I want to do, and then seeing how it's going to work or not work, and then there's a great line from The Good Place where Jason says, if I ever had a problem, I would throw a Molotov cocktail at it and boom, I would have a different problem. And role-playing games really provide you with, this is the situation that you're in. I'm going to do this. And the situation is not better, but it's different. So for me, it's always been about, what can I do? Can I tell stories? I also, and nobody really talked about this, is I like progression. I like the difference and change and better, the ability of my character to get better and different as we progress through the campaign. We're still in the middle of a completely different AP, and my character is essentially gone from, kind of a pseudo frontline fighter to a healing battery. And it's been fun for me just kind of going, and this is how I'm going to turn the jigsaw puzzle pieces to make it into something different.
Very cool. Very cool. Looks like we all enjoy storytelling. So we're going to tell a story in Rusthenge. We're going to build our characters using the Pathfinder player core and backgrounds from the Rusthenge adventure. Our goal is to demonstrate entering the game with minimal resources. We thought, what better way than to start with the remaster books? This is a short adventure spanning levels 1 through 3. Should end the adventure on level 4. To start, everyone will be picking an ancestry from the player core. So let's jump right into it. Who wants to tell us what ancestry you're picking?
Goblin.
Dimitri is a goblin.
Sorry, goblin.
Goblin?
Goblin.
Well,
in my particular case, I am the most refined goblin you will ever meet, most likely. Because, you see, I have been, at a very young and impressionable age, adopted by locals of this particular community. And I have been raised to be the most proper, gentle goblin that you'll ever meet. I am trained in all social manners, and I am the utmost gentle goblin. Yeah, gentle goblin, sure. And I can sing you songs to lift your spirits, and I also know some that will make you lose your spirits. Spirits or your lunch, whichever. Point is, I am the consummate entertainer, and I am definitely the kind of being you want along for a social encounter, whether it is to advance it or to diffuse it or to turn it into a mess, because, well, I'm still a goblin.
What made you choose goblin?
Well, bad influence. There were other people who were going to be goblins, and so I was like, I guess we're all going to be goblins? Mostly goblins?
We be goblins.
Well, I be goblin. You can tell them if you be goblin too. Are you?
I be goblin.
When you think about it, aren't we all goblins?
Listen, we everything is bear.
Everything is bears.
Everything is bears. In all seriousness, though, I chose goblin as well. I'll get into my to my background later, but I've had a specific, not background, my class later. Sorry, I've had this specific class in mind for a very long time, and I felt like the most interesting way to play it would be as a goblin, and I too am kind of an atypical goblin. One of the things that you notice about goblins very quickly is they are creatures of the moment. They are not creatures who put a lot of thought into book learning. And I am definitely the nerdy goblin that got picked on in the schoolyard. Like, what are you reading for? That's definitely me.
Do goblins have schoolyards?
That's true, because goblins probably don't have schools.
Well, if we grew up in this community might have a school and it might have a schoolyard, yeah. But generally, goblins aren't known for their centers of learning.
Brian, what are you going to be before I get into my character?
Probably highly annoying. I am also a goblin.
All right, so it's a we. We be goblins.
Oh, we be goblin. I did say I was here for the chaos. I'm absolutely going to be embodying that. I do promise not to be too much of a jerk. That would be wrong. But yeah, we will go full goblin mode.
And every comedy needs a straight man, so I'm going to be a human. And to spoil my class, I will be a cleric as well. So we're going to learn quickly if Iomede's blessings work on goblin physiology. So trying to keep these folks out of trouble.
Hey, it's okay. Goblins bounce.
Do goblins have spleens?
Maybe.
I don't know. Let's find out.
Yeah, I will reach inside my belly and find out.
Yeah, what were you saying about that spell, though? Matt's going to be reaching inside himself all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So is that why your character coming along? Because Matt's character gives you new insights on goblin physiology?
It's a great anatomy lesson.
Yes, like a regular naturalist. I will. I'll be keeping notes, and the name escapes me of the very famous one that went to the Galapagos Isles. But the Ironbound Islands have always been in need of Darwin.
I feel like you're more of a John Goodall.
Did anybody take any heritage?
Heritage.
Yes.
That's the thing that we did, right?
Like for humans, like there's versatile heritage.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, I was getting the terms correct. Yeah.
We are unbreakable. At least I am.
We are also unbreakable.
In my particular case, I figured that my proper behavior has led me to be smacked quite a few times across my large goblin head in my childhood. And I do bounce very well, I guess, because I am unbreakable. I figure that, trying to be posh is bound to get me smacked in social situations, which is how you learn as a goblin. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you level up.
It's true.
It adds experience.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I'm actually in the same boat. I also picked Unbreakable Goblin because I figured I was just kind of one of those little jerks who were running around getting into trouble and bouncing off of walls, quite literally in this case. So I developed a tougher skin.
I went in a slightly different direction. I went with the Iron Gut Goblin heritage, which essentially means I can eat all the things. I mean, there's some crunchy parts of it, but essentially, my character has had to deal with very, very low meals that would probably hurt somebody who's not a goblin, especially an Iron Gut Goblin.
So when you say there's crunchy parts to it, you say there's crunchy parts to it, you mean there's crunchy parts in the trash?
Yeah.
Yes. Though I think in this case, he's not just dumpster diving, he's eating the dumpster.
Yes.
Well, I think being the nerd that he grew up being, I think we dumped him in the dumpster and he just stayed there.
So I really feel like this is something that Akora should have taken before she had passed.
Listen, we both drank all the things.
Yes. For the audience out there, Akora was my wizard in our Rise of the Rune Lords game, and she no longer is with us.
Well, she's with us in spirit.
You kept her ghost?
Mark, what about you?
I mean, she's probably haunting all of us, yeah.
To round it out, and because humans are a fairly standard template, I took the versatile human heritage that you had mentioned initially, Ryan.
Okay. What was the motivation behind that?
It was primarily looking at the feats and kind of the cleric that I wanted created. It offered fast recovery as well. So cleric is only as good as their ability to remain.
What ability boost did each of you take for your heritage? Or excuse me, your ancestry?
Oh, I don't really remember exactly where which ability boost went.
Path Builder does keep track of it if you built it there.
I did not. However, I made a doc. And in that doc, I will eventually load it and will be able to tell you.
Was it a spreadsheet, Dimitri?
No, it was not. For the audience, I'm weird. I like spreadsheets.
You're not weird. I like spreadsheets too.
Okay, we're weird.
Yeah, that's definitely.
So my ancestry boost went to Dex and Charisma.
Yes.
And the negative wisdom was canceled by the floating positive, also to wisdom.
Okay.
I figured that, being raised by not my own kin, but rather this community, smacked a little bit of sense into me.
I think I did the same because I did not take the negative to wisdom.
I thought that was not optional.
Well, no, the negative is not optional, but you get a floating positive.
Right.
Right.
So we just put our floating positive into wisdom so that our wisdom isn't -1, but at least a +0, unless you then put additional positives into it.
How fancy for you. I didn't bother with the wisdom because I think wisdom's a silly thing.
Well, yes, with a wisdom of -1, you would think that.
Yeah, no, my ancestry boost, I believe I picked strength because there's nothing stronger than a goblin. Let's all be realistic here. Goblins are quite possibly the strongest in all of creation.
And if you lack the lore to know otherwise, yes.
No, I did take goblin lore, so I know this for a fact.
Same.
Yeah, I get a feeling that in our childhood we had plenty of these conversations where I would go, yeah, sure, right. And given that you have at least a +1 in strength and I don't, I've probably decided it was better to shut up at that point.
Mark, being that you are a war priest, I'm assuming that intelligence and charisma were your...
Yeah, I realized that we may need a secondary frontliner, so I took strength and dex for my ancestry boosts. In addition to the jumping ahead field medic background gives me strength and con. So I am a war priest sub of the cleric class.
Okay. So I guess I did kind of spoil that. That was my bad. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. We're going to get to it eventually.
Are we talking class at this point?
Yeah. Well, let's go background. Because he already did the field medic.
I went with the Osprey spellcaster background from the Rusthenge assortment of backgrounds. There are 4 different subtypes. There's Arcana, Nature, Occultism, and Religion. My character decided to go with Arcana. Is interested in magic and learning, which makes him a goblin nerd and probably not not the most popular guy in town. Not even in town, but not the most popular goblin among goblins.
Well, of course, that's me.
That's true. The background is funny, gives you a couple of ability boosts, but I like that it gives you a language and a skill feat. I mean, I like the direction that it's putting my character in. You know, a pencil behind the ear. You know, interested in the whole world, especially things that are magic and sparkly and glittery.
Mark, you already told us a little bit about field medic. You want to expand on it a little bit? You took the field medic background.
So my character had ultimately, what I envisioned for him was obviously a healer since we were in need of one. And I took the field medic background from the ones that had existed to help facilitate that. And really, that was really kind of the ones that called to me. I mean, as a primary reaction to the 3 goblins that were created, we realized that they needed a kindergarten teacher to keep them alive. So I felt that background was the best means by which I can try to keep everybody up.
Because it is incredibly hard to keep goblins standing upright, especially chaos goblins.
I have no idea what you could possibly be talking about.
Just use strings and you can puppet us like marionettes.
We have disproportionately large heads, so
do we?
That's true too. We are top heavy. We're like little pop figures.
Are we weebles? Do weebles wobble but they don't fall down? There is.
They do not fall down.
I'm kind of sad there isn't a. I feel like there were definitely abilities in 1E that very, very specifically you are a goblin with a big freaking head.
They might still be here. We just haven't found them yet.
As far as I'm aware, in 2E.
I haven't read much on the goblin outside of the player core. I really tried to stick hard to that for my knowledge, just to kind of facilitate that and demonstrate that for our audience, really. What it feels like jumping in. How hard is it to step into a new system, right? By limiting it to the one book, like there's a lot of options still.
Absolutely.
my vision going forward is as we progress, opening up to some of the other books. By the time this releases, Player Core 2 will be out. I envision by the time we're done with this and on to our next adventure, that it'll be a free run. Brian, what was your background?
Background, whereas Matt went with the Osprey nerd, I went with the Osprey jock. So I picked the Osprey warrior background. Cool. So it's the description being just like you've always been the most athletic child, and it's just like I'm always a big, relatively goblin, and it's very much strong and running around and being a general showboat. So your goblin is ripped. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just rippling muscles. It's just pecs upon pecs. I mean, still a goblin, so maybe not a 6-pack, maybe like a 4-pack. You know.
Okay. What about you, D?
And I went with the Osprey Scion. So not only have I been adopted by somebody within the community, it was specifically Elder Ordwy who adopted me and trained me for social situations. Enough that I have gained the Hobnobber feat, which I am renaming Gobnobber, which allows me to gather information faster than the rest of you, because I am so sociable in character.
Awesome.
Yeah. We definitely rounded that out very nicely, actually.
Yeah. So you talked about the feat that it gave you and the skills. What about everybody else? What feats and skills did yours?
Ooh, I got a feat called Quick Identification. It lets me do the action identify magic in 1 minute rather than 10 minutes. And as I get higher in level, it's even shorter and shorter. Pretty cool.
Okay.
Warrior gave me training in both athletics and Gorham lore. Because one must be aware that our Lord in Metal is a thing. Not that I'm worshiping Gorham.
Gorham Lord give you the ability to do like Bulgarian split squats or something like that.
I mean, I think it does now.
Oh, okay. There you go.
It also gave me Hefty Hauler as a feat, which makes me be able to carry more. So I think my max bulk is increased by +2. So I'm I'm a pack mule as a goblin.
Can you throw one of us at the enemy?
I can carry you.
That's why the humans are.
No.
What about you, Mark? Did your background give you any feat or skills?
Yeah, so I took the fast recover that I had mentioned, but specifically what that does is I can bounce back quickly from affliction, so I'm able to gain more hit points back when I rest as well, but it makes me more fortuitous for purposes of disease or poison. So I can reduce those afflictions or recover them a little bit more quickly, potentially in the same way that Iron Gut allows you to eat things that are otherwise inedible. So that should be helpful.
So I was just reading over the field medic. It looks like you also get battle medicine.
I do. As I scrambled to look for that, if you have it up.
Yeah, I got that up. So you can patch up wounds even in combat. Attempt a medicine check with the same DC as for treat wounds and restore the corresponding amount of HP. This doesn't remove the wounded condition as with treat wounds. You can attempt checks against higher DCs if you have minimum proficiency rank. The target is then immune to your battle medicine for 1 day. So this gives you the opportunity to essentially treat wounds for a single action while in combat. This is like your in-combat healing that won't use up your magic. But you can only do it once per day on an individual.
Right. And part of the reason I had selected that background is...
Sure, we won't get hurt more than that.
Yeah. Well, only one of you can get hurt once per day. Very, very bad. Rounding out the role within the party was kind of what drew me to that background.
Okay. Let's jump to the big one. Class.
I'm a witch. I've been wanting to be a witch, I think, pretty much since I started PF1. I think I enjoy them as casters. I like the spookiness of it, so that's a good time for me. I get a familiar. I have a raven. The raven's name is the Harbinger of the Void because he's dark and stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff that the class lets you do with your familiar. I get hexes. Well, to rewind a little bit, the way that witches work is it's analogous to the warlock in 5th Ed. If you're more familiar, you pick a patron. The patron that I chose is called Starless Shadow. Starless Shadow, it's about darkness and twilight, and a lot of it is about being concealed and hidden in darkness. I like that a whole lot. That's also why I took a raven. I thought that was very would be dark and interesting and fun, and also would let me argue with myself, which I apparently really enjoy doing.
I like that for you. I really do.
It'll be a good time.
Who do you think will win an argument with yourself?
Does your raven yet have a hat?
The raven will have a hat. If I have to buy one with my 10 gold that I start with, I will buy the raven a little witch hat. We'll have matching hats.
Is a familiar named the Harbinger of the Void? Is he generally unsettling to everybody else, or does he have a very nice temperament? Despite his name.
He likes you guys. I think he also, because he's kind of an extension of my patron, he appears exactly the way that he wants to. So to you guys, he's, one of those ravens from, TikTok videos that likes to be around people and eat peanuts. And when he's around people that we don't like, he grows about 3 sizes, and he gets all shaggy and kind of like his feathers look like they're going to fall off, and he has a very unsettling gaze, and we all just kind of like, dude, you need to tone that down a little bit.
Well, no, we've learned that's when you bring out the peanuts.
Yes, that's true.
If you run out of peanuts, you see the scary version. Yeah. Bring the peanuts.
That definitely happens occasionally. Like he'll wake one of us up at like 3:00 in the morning in scary mode, and she's like, "Come on!"
So it's like a Snickers commercial. It's like, "Hey, have some peanuts." Yeah. They're not you when you haven't had a peanut.
Yep.
A lot of flavor in there. I like it.
Yeah.
What about you, Mark? You want to tell us a little bit about the War Priest?
Yeah. So the War Priest is provided healing by his god Iomade, and I wish I had something as unique and cool as a raven to argue with. But I feel that, again, the goblins will give me more than enough opportunity to argue.
It's about to say, you got 3 ravens, basically, just in goblin form.
So a little bit of healing and some frontlining, so you can heal the goblins when they eventually go down at the front line. Okay.
Yes.
What about you, D?
I was always going to be a bard. I mean, in character, I was always going to be a bard. I just kind of, because I wasn't going to delve too deeply into the system, I opened the class section as so bard was first alphabetically, so I was going to be a bard. But also, generally, in my prior experience, bards have been a class with a little bit of everything. So I figured that if we happen to be missing a little bit of skills, or a little bit of combat ability, or a little bit of spell casting, I was going to be able to cover it, and I would be able to pivot using character options into one direction or another as needed. And I wouldn't necessarily need to commit fully to one of those right out of the gate. So I picked some healing options, I picked some combat options, and I do have some spell casting, but my true dream, which caused me to pick Bard, is that one day I dream of summoning a baby grand piano with my summon instrument and then dropping it on somebody.
I love that. I love it.
You shouldn't have revealed that so soon.
Well, no, you see, apparently cantrip can't do that right out the gate. It got to be heightened, so I got to level up quite a bit to summon a baby grand piano.
Okay.
Start with like a harpsichord.
Maybe start with a ukulele.
Maybe. I was actually thinking vuvuzela.
So we're looking for the most annoying instrument for the the gnomes, the goblins.
You gotta keep them guessing. Because first round, I summon the Vuvuzela, and then they brace for the audible impact. I fling it at them for a physical impact.
Interesting.
I literally picked the cantrip that lets me fling things at people. So I'm going to impale somebody with a Vuvuzela, yes.
I'm here for the shenanigans.
And I'll be happy to provide those shenanigans.
Shenanigans is our middle aim.
I think one thing we've got here is we've been playing for so long that nobody wants to play the conventional character. Like we are not doing the 4 food group, fighter, cleric, wizard, thief thing. We've kind of gone off a little bit on character tangents, and I like that.
I think as systems have progressed away from 3rd edition 25 years ago, things have changed from the point of you have to have this to your character within it actually has options to cover some of those holes in party composition, let's say. So you don't necessarily have to be, I'm a fighter, I fight. You can be, I'm a fighter, but I've picked some character options to also be able to do this and that, and maybe picked some information gathering skills, maybe some social ones. Maybe I've multi-classed. Maybe I just dipped my toe into something to be able to use items. In any case, it's easier with Pathfinder 2nd than it was decades ago to diversify yourself without necessarily switching out of the character concept.
And not to go on a tangent, but I was going to echo that and say Pathfinder 2E with it does not come with the anxiety of having to optimize where we can play the party that we want in that sense, because it offers the ability to kind of have more broad skills across the entire party, regardless of class. So that's spot on.
You speak to your own anxiety.
One of the things I found interesting was like the ability to heal doesn't necessarily have to come from the cleric. I thought that was huge because nobody wants to, I don't want to say nobody, a large population that doesn't want to play the heal bot, right?
Yeah.
And that can be kind of difficult when you feel like, oh, well, I have to play the cleric, right? Or the oracle.
Well, we used to have a very simple agreement. Whoever dies first makes the cleric.
True. Very true.
If nobody brought the healer, then the first one to bite it has to make one. That's it. That's real simple. It's just that nobody wanted to lose their character, so somebody would go, all right, I guess I'll make a healer because I'm probably going to be the first one to die anyway.
I've also, I have definitely done the take one for the team thing a couple of times.
Yeah.
I've said,
Same.
Yeah.
So what did you decide on, Brian?
Whereas everybody went with lovely, interesting options, I went with a boring rogue.
I don't think rogues are boring.
No, obviously they're not boring, and I can make anything interesting. But I do recognize that they are one of the basic archetypal classes and everything. But that's also why I try to bust out of that mold. Really, I just kind of love rogues because, I mean, who doesn't love going for the kidneys? And I also love being a skill monkey because I don't like not being trained in things. And rogues are one of the most trained the classes. Yeah. So I kind of needed to do that. And also, again, I gotta go for the kidneys. Like you can't just show like I'm 3 feet tall. I can see your vulnerable spots. Like, come on. Going for him.
Femoral artery, Achilles tendon, yada yada.
Mm-hmm. Groin, general crotchal region. I mean,
I was gonna say balls.
Yes, going for the balls. Just don't leave them. That, again, I mean, back to the question we had earlier of clothing. Like, you leave it dangling. I'm cutting it off.
All right.
Time to buy clothing.
So with that, you get a class feat. What did you take? Well, first of all, you get a rogue's racket, Brian.
Yes, I do. My rogue's racket. I picked the ruffian racket
to go with the muscles.
Yes, I would rather. Basically, I chose rogue as a class, and I built the class as a fighter. So I've basically all of the choices are coming together to make it so that I'm going to be standing on the front lines. So the ruffian racket is punching and or cutting people's nards off with my dog slicer.
Ooh! Ow! Ouch! Ouch!
And dog slicers generally come with an additional dose of tetanus.
Well,
you're assuming they'll live that long.
But yes, the ruffian racket actually allows me to use whatever weapon I want to use in order to deal sneak attack damage. So I can theoretically pick up a fish and sneak attack somebody with it. It also gets me trained in medium armor and intimidation, and I can use strength as a key attribute, which I am not doing, but it's an option, so that's nice. The rogue's rackets are actually I thought very nice to balance out which kind of rogue you're trying to be, because like there are very broad strokes for rogues in my opinion, and I was definitely going for more of a rough and tumble, I will mess you up in a back alley kind of rogue, and that's what the ruffian is doing, and I love it.
Absolutely, that's awesome, because you definitely need some frontline help.
Do we need help? This sounds very ominous coming from the game master.
Well, you are the Brood Squad.
I am the Brute Squad.
When the game master laughs, it's already too late.
Yes.
And in my case, because you mentioned what feat, and mine is tied to my muse. As a bard, I have to pick a muse, and then I get a feat out of it. And I specifically picked the Enigma muse for the Bardic Lore feat. So basically, even if we're not trained in some kind of lore, because it's really difficult to be able to figure out ahead of time what kind of information you're going to need, this is a backup option. Like if nobody took a particular lore, I can go, maybe I've heard some of it through a song, and go, no, that's a bad roll, no information. But at least I'll get a better chance than not. And in previous editions, Bard was very, should I put it, front-loaded. Like, you got everything. You got the Bardic lore, you got this, you got that, and the muses, I feel, have kind of split that apart, where if you want Bardic lore, you have to specifically pick the Enigma muse. If I wanted a different option, which I was considering, I wouldn't have Bardic lore. So in the end, I picked this particular muse specifically because I wanted to have Bardic lore as a backup lore option for us to try obtain information about the world. Because in addition to not knowing the game system, I'm not really familiar with how the world has advanced in Pathfinder 2 towards the point of this particular adventure out of character. So I don't even know what to ask about. I am at the mercy of the GM.
Yeah, that's something I'm finding too. They've really gone into specializations within lore to the point where I'm not sure it's one of those meta. We were talking earlier about languages and what languages we think will be useful, and it's one of those cases of the game world has changed enough since the beginning of Pathfinder. Galarian has changed enough that I'm not 100% sure what's going to be useful right now, and that's part of the fun of it.
Yeah, it's a definite learning experience, right? I tried to communicate the best I could without just saying, like, take these languages, right? The backgrounds kind of gave you some idea what language, especially one language that is relevant.
Yes,
right?
Because I picked the Scion background, I got the Zin Edasseril lore skill. So it seems like that would make it kind of important to be able to speak the language of the particular ancient Thessalonian lords that have shown up in the region.
Naturally, they spoke Goblin.
Well, I mean, to you, no, of course, no. They should speak Goblin because Goblins are the best, right, Brian?
Absolutely.
Right. But if I wanted to speak with them in their language, to condescend to them, I need to be able to speak their language, Because I'll speak at them in Goblin, and then they won't be able to understand. And I know it's because of their small minds, so I have to speak to them in their tongue. So they'll get what exactly they should do to serve me properly. Right, Brian? They need to know.
It's nice of you to stoop to their level, yes.
Right. I'll be the one stooping. You can do the clubbing so that they bend down to our level instead.
Absolutely. Love the arrangement.
The kneecapping, the kidney stabbing, the ball snagging, whatever brings them down to our level.
So if I heard what you had selected with Enigma, that a lot of it is up to GM discretion, I'm going to change the feat that I selected, actually. I believe there was one that allows you to do knowledge checks, and you basically play 2 truths and a lie. So I want to make Ryan's job as hard as possible, and at every turn, you have to tell me the truth and the lie. But no, I didn't actually do that. We had talked about the feats that I had taken previously, and I might have mixed up the heritage versus the background. So I have the fast recovery, and then I also have the battle medicine. The only other one I had was a natural skill, which is a human feat that just gives me 2 skill unranks. And I believe I took, looking at my thing, I took nature and then potentially religion as well, in line with my cleric. So just wanted to cover those real quick.
Okay, cool.
Do we want to talk about what skills we're trained in?
Well, let's see. Does Matt have a...
I did not get a class feat at first level. My first class feat looks like it comes at second. I have all kinds of other stuff that I have hexes. Hexes are a witch ability you can use an unlimited amount of times a day, I think. I am still learning the class, but that's what it looks like to me. What I can do is essentially, hey, somebody's going to hit my familiar, and I go snap my fingers as a reaction, say, no, it is now not solid and physical, it is a ghost of itself. And my familiar gets resistance 5 to all damage and is immune to precision.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to point out that I didn't actually have a class feat either. My choice of muse gave me a feat. So it's not like I got to pick one. Because there was definitely a class feat I wanted, and then it turned out that, I don't actually get any until 2, just like you. So it's like, at level 2, maybe I can choose that. But I get a whole bunch of new class feats that require level 2, and all of a sudden my choices go, maybe I actually want something different.
Okay.
But that requires surviving to level 2.
Interesting.
I'm in the same boat with the patron thing. My patron opens up options for me in the long run, as your muse does.
So it's actually kind of interesting because I actually did get a class feat at first level, which I didn't discuss because the Ruffian's Racket is separate. As you just get this, and then you also get a feat, which I'm assuming is because I don't get spells.
That makes sense.
Probably.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't discuss it. I actually did get a class feat. So to go off of that, I took Nimble Dodge because, again, I'm planning on being on the front line. And I figured being able to dodge is a good idea because I would rather not get kicked in the head, as large of a target as it is. It's like, I feel like it's a good choice because, again, the trigger is a creature's targeting you, and you can see it, and then you get a +2 circumstance bonus on AC because, again, I'd rather you not kick me in the head because although I am unbreakable and will bounce, let's just avoid this.
Let's not test that theory,
Right.
Let's not test how breakable you are.
More AC is better.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, you guys want to talk about what skills you're taking?
Sure. In my case, I've got occultism because bards are an occult spellcasting class. I got that. And I got performance because bards perform well.
You wouldn't be a very good bard without that, right?
Well, I mean, it really depends.
There's no proof that he's a good bard even with that.
Yes, but it's actually baked into the class, so I wouldn't be able to be an untrained in performance bard unless I somehow got a hole in my head that removed training for class skill. Anyway, and I got diplomacy from the background, but I also got like 6 different ones to pick. So I decided to go with the ones that use charisma, those being deception, intimidation, and I decided that society is something that I should be trained in, because otherwise, what is the point of integrating a goblin into what? It should be the society. But then I also decided we're in a coastal community, and swim is based on athletics. So I better be trained in that, because otherwise, at +0, I have an even chance to drown before I become an adult. So I trained myself in athletics, and I also decided to go with survival for a similar reason, because getting lost in the wilderness before, you level 2 is kind of bad. And then I had one left over, and I went with acrobatics.
What about Mark? Where are you at with skills?
So I am trained in athletics and diplomacy. That kind of ties into his background. Lore warfare as well. And then running down the list, it's medicine and nature, which I think was obviously a natural progression of being a cleric. And then religion and society.
What about you, Matt?
I did too much.
Did you have a lot of skills?
I did. There was a whole lot of skill training going on here. One thing I think I may have made a mistake on is I took skills where I probably should be taking lores, but with that in mind, I really will play this and then I'll go, oh yeah, I should have done that. I think that's part of why I'm really going to enjoy this, so I can say, okay, let me make some notes on what I need to do better with the next character that I make. I am trained in acrobatics, arcana, crafting. We cannot be trained initially in medicine?
No, you can.
Oh, okay. Trained in medicine, nature, occultism. Occultism is the nice thing about witches is they are very modular with the kind of casting that you're doing. I ended up being an occult witch with the Starless Shadow Patron. I am trained in religion, society, stealth, survival, and thievery, just in case.
I mean, you can never go wrong with thievery, right? I
would agree.
I think thievery and medicine are two skills, and especially in this game, that the more people that have them, the better.
I would definitely venture to say you can go wrong with thievery.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Only if you get caught.
As a just in case, too.
Right.
Yeah.
So I assume the rogue did not take thievery, since he's a ruffian,
okay.
right?
Right. No, yes. Okay. So again, rogues having a plethora of skills, and not being a spellcasting class, I kind of got trained in most of the skills. That I actually wound up taking more lores than I was initially planning on taking, because it just made more sense that I would be like, let's have hyper focus knowledge rather than knowing about things that are actually useful. So things that I am trained in. I'm trained in acrobatics, athletics, crafting, deception, diplomacy, intimidation, goblin lore, Gorham lore, sailing lore, society, stealth, and thievery.
And I think the crafting is going to be nice when you find runes.
Yes.
Put on weapons.
Mm-hmm.
That'll save you a couple pennies. You don't have to have farm out the work. We have a couple spellcasters, so what kind of spells are you guys looking at? I don't like when you laugh like that.
I like
What kind of problems are you going to cause for me?
Okay, witches have both cantrips and spell rank 1 spells at level 1. Some of the delightful spells that my familiar has eaten are ones that are familiar. I took light, I took message, I took shield. Both pretty similar to the way that they work in Pathfinder and 3rd Ed. I took Detect Magic too. And then we get into things that are interesting. I took some damaging spells, and things that I like about some of the damaging spells I took. There's lots of different damage types, but I like that they also have secondary effects. If you critically fail the fort save for Haunting Him, the enemy is deafened for a minute, and it's an area of effect. I took one called Needle Darts. They can cause bleed on a critical success. The nice thing about Needle Darts that may keep it useful in the long run is that they are shaped out of a piece of metal in your possession. So if we find something that is vulnerable to silver, for example, because I have a couple of silver pieces in my pockets, I can make the needles out of silver. or cold iron or adamantine or whatever to make things work better. I took phase bolt, which is another one of those. Yeah, this one's just basic damage. On a success, take 3d4 piercing. On a critical success, it's double damage. I have a ton of damaging spells, but I also took one called Warp Step that lets me stride twice, so to really get out of the way. There's some other fun stuff in here, but those are the cantrips that I took. The first level spells are hilarious. Wait, I don't want to cast that. I took one called Agitate that essentially gives you attention deficit disorder, or gives the bad guys attention deficit disorder. If they don't stride, fly, or swim at least once each turn, they take damage, which I really like. I think that's a good time.
I kind of already have attention deficit disorder, so I don't need anybody to cast that on me.
Yeah. I took a spell called Enfeeble.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it gives the enfeebled condition. I took Fear, which just gives the frightened condition depending on how badly you give it to them. I took a really flavory spell for my character called Grim Tendrils. The description is tendrils of darkness curl out from your fingertips and race through the air. Really on message there.
And that does fit with the character concept. I really like that.
Yeah, with failure, if they fail the fort save, they take damage and bleed. Wait, it says takes full damage. I'm like, wow, they take the whole 2d4? No, they take the 2d4 and don't have it. A couple other ones. There's a buff called Runic Weapon. Basically, it's a magic weapon from First Ed. No, it's better than that. It is a +1 striking weapon.
Right, yes.
It's +1 to attack and increases the number of weapon damage dice to 2, which is really going to make somebody really, really pleased. That's 2, 3.
So it won't make me pleased.
Oh, no. But yeah, we're not concerned about you being happy.
Oh, okay. Okay. Just checking.
Not even. There's some other fun ones that I want to take in the long run, but some of them are rare, so we're probably not going to take those. But yeah, there's some fun stuff here. There's Mystic Armor, which is there's a lot of cool stuff. There's a good time. There's some good times here. But yeah, that's how we're going to start.
So Rez, I'm surprised you picked light. We goblins don't need that.
Yeah.
Oh wait, you're a nerd.
That's true.
You like to read in the dark, don't you?
Yeah,
goblins don't like words.
No. Yeah, but I do. I don't understand it myself.
Oh no, goblins love words. We just don't like them written down.
Right. That's what I meant.
That is a good transition because the human did take light as a cantrip, since they very much need to see. Overall, the majority of my spells as a prepared caster are going to be of the healing nature or buffing nature. The one thing I think to call out, though, was I did take one offensive spell. It's Divine Lance, which I think is thematic with the character as well as a divine caster, but it's effectively a ranged spell attack that I can prepare heightened as well if I so choose. But aside from the cantrips, the first ranks are going to be Bless and Spirit Link, and then I have a healing font that offers me 4 casts of heal on a given day. So I felt like that was more than enough there, that it could be offset by at least a singular offensive spell. But again, I anticipate melee a lot, so I think it's kind of why I went with that proportion.
Yeah, and that's one of the, like I said earlier, I really like that about this system is like you might not need to heal in combat, and you can save your spells for out of combat. And then you also have the battle medicine, which allows you to preserve some spells as well. So, okay.
You guys are prepared casters, and I'm a spontaneous caster, and as a result, I have a much smaller selection of spells, but I don't have to pick them ahead of time, but I'm still limited to the number of times I can potentially cast them per day. So for my rank 1s, I picked Dizzying Colors, which...
Yeah, I looked at that.
if you're familiar with previous editions, it's color spray.
Fabulous.
It's a 15-foot cone of dazzled, maybe stunned, maybe blinded. And the other one was soothe, so that somebody can get healed. Basically, it's the backup option of healer wake up. But most of my contributions are going to be cantrips because those are repeatable, and songs. So I've got a courageous anthem, which is going to boost everybody's attacks, damage, and saves against fear. I've got, as part of my goblin heritage, I know the goblin songs, which make people hurl and lower their perception and saves. So you'll probably want me to make somebody distracted with it before you cast at them. But I don't have to wait for you. I can distract them and then try to daze them myself or void warp them so that they take some damage. But I also took Forbidding Ward, which is a cantrip that can be sustained to give somebody extra armor class. Yes, Brian, I'm looking at you.
Yay!
My crown jewel is, of course, going to be Summon Instrument, the cantrip, so that I don't have to buy a mundane instrument. I can just make a new one I can make them whenever, but the previous one winks out. And Telekinetic Projectile, so that I can throw that instrument at anybody within 30 feet against their AC, and potentially, it's bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing as appropriate, so I guess if I launch a bagpipes, it's probably going to be bludgeoning. And if I launch cymbals, it might be slashing. And Vuvuzela, of course, is going to be piercing.
I think if you launch a bagpipe, it'll be more emotional damage than anything else.
Well, yes, but unfortunately, it's still physical. PTSD will have to be a separate roll.
Oh no, I mean I've been subjected to bagpipes for most of my life. It is also physical.
But have you been physically beaten with a bag of the bagpipes?
No comment.
Okay, all right. I apologize for triggering your PTSD.
Are we prepared with a soundboard for beating somebody with bagpipes? Because a vuvuzela probably is just like a clunk, but like there's going to be the fart song with the bagpipe.
Well, I mean, if I manage to strike them critically with the vuvuzela, does it go into like their lung and then produce noise as they're breathing?
Oh, I hope so.
Well, I'm sure we'll discuss this with Ryan about sound effects. I intend to remind you guys that, buffs are up. But if we have soundboard for that, that'll be cool.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. I'll try to have something on the soundboard. All right. What else do you guys want to talk about your characters?
I'm still trying to get personality. I'm trying to figure out I feel like there's a fantastic balance between enthusiasm for the world and embodiment of tenebrous darkness that I'm really trying to find kind of the balance of, where he'll be like, playing with cats, and then, somebody will try to hurt his friends, and just like the entire world, like the temperature goes down about 10 degrees and everything goes dark except the area around Mark's character, so he can actually see. Tries to be considerate about it. But there's this.
Well, if you keep it below my knees or below my waist, as I can see.
Yeah, it's this. He's still getting used to this idea of being a conduit of darkness, and he's trying to not let it completely overtake the way that he sees the world.
It's just a phase?
Maybe. I don't think he feels that.
It's not a phase, Mom.
Anybody else? What else you want to get out?
The one thing I would like to bring up with the rogue is they get a surprise attack, which is really fun because it is on the first round of combat. If you roll your perception with your initiative with either deception or stealth, then anyone who hasn't acted is off guard, which is basically allowing you to sneak attack. But one of the reasons I find that so interesting is because you can roll initiative with something that is not, initiative.
Yes.
Which is actually something that is incredibly fun and new and exciting.
I agree. I really like that aspect of this game. You can roll your initiative based on what you're doing.
Yes.
What were you going to say, Dee?
Actually, I wanted to ask Brian, because he's read these rules as part of his class. Like, what is off guard this edition's flat-footed?
Yes.
Basically, yes.
Yeah, that's part of the remaster rules.
Are you going to need assistance setting that up for your maximum damage? Or like, how does this edition have flanking?
Yes, there is flanking.
Yeah, that's essentially what triggers off guard. Like, there's certain things that will trigger the off guard condition, and that will obviously trigger various things like sneak attack.
So you would probably prefer that somebody was in melee and on the other side of the enemy from you.
Yes,
I definitely have a couple of ways to throw darkness onto the bad guys, so they won't be able to see, which will help you.
Is this the kind of darkness we can see through?
Oh no, it literally just puts darkness across their eyes.
Oh,
okay. About to say, like, because for Mark's benefit, we should keep all darkness basically nut level and below.
for optimal targeting. I don't think there's a space on my character sheet that actually lists the height, but technically small-sized creature, whatever that means in this edition, in numbers. And if it even matters.
There is a space for your height on the character sheet in Foundry.
Yes, it is on the biography page.
Ah, okay.
For the record, I am standing tall at 3'3", so y'all can be shorter than me.
And if we're not, you're going to keep bonking us on our heads until we are?
Yes.
The only thing I think it's beneficial to mention as well is my character is going to be a sword and board war priest, so he will have a long sword and a shield. And then, similar to Matt, I'm going to take the right to continue to refine my character and his backstory to really delve into how he finds himself with 3 other goblins. And I think that'll be something to look forward to in the next episode if we don't want to talk about biographies here.
Yeah, I think letting some of this come out in story is a great way to present it.
Absolutely.
For equipment, I was thinking of just having light armor, a buckler, and a rapier. Because I figure, having been raised in a community dedicated to Kalian, right? Am I pronouncing that right?
Kalian, yep.
The dude who drinks and swings a rapier and somehow blundered into being a god. The god of good times. I figured that, probably that has been impressed on me. You should be having, you should have a rapier, and you really shouldn't have the other hand occupied by anything except a tankard. So I think a buckler and a rapier is the right kind of way to go. But apparently even like studded leather is going to be too difficult for me because my strength is a 0. Because it'll give me penalties to strength and dex skills, I think. So I'm probably just going to go with like regular leather or even just like cloth armor, whatever. So I'm not going to be the most armored member of this party. Well, sorry. Matt, are you going to be armored at all? Okay.
Matt is armored only in darkness.
That was why I wasn't going to go with shield the spell or armor the spell, because I figured that the bonus they provide is something I'm not really prohibited from wearing, so I might as well just put them on.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm not like geared towards striding into melee and stabbing people. I'm just incidentally going to do that if the opportunity presents itself.
See, in being a goblin using anything other than a dog slicer and or a horse chopper, I will be giving you guff the entire time because, I mean, what are you doing? You are not embracing your goblin heritage. You've been just taking to these humans? Like, I don't understand.
Well, this is exactly why my preferred method of fighting is flinging vuvuzelas at people. The rapier stays in the scabbard. It's a deception, you see? they expect me to yank it out and start charging at them, and meanwhile, my flute is now lodged in their eye.
So you're using a rapier to assuage the humans' expectations of you using an actual weapon. I love it.
Exactly. And then, I'm like, combat's over. I guess I'll summon another instrument.
It's very, very tricksy.
I'm not pulling it out of the wound. Why would I? That's already ruined. I'll just make another. That's probably, actually, if we're talking backstory, that's probably why I learned that cantrip. I've ruined too many instruments in my childhood. So I've learned the magical way of just making one out of thin air so that I could keep playing it. Or maybe I was playing so badly that they would take away my instruments.
So your backstory is one time at band camp?
Yes. Yeah. I put a flute into my cloaca.
Keep the apple pie away.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, with that wraps up session 0 for Dour Gnome Adventures. Thank you for listening to Dour Gnome Adventures. If you enjoyed our show, check out our website, dourgnomeproductions.com, for links to our social media and Discord community. Also, don't forget to leave us a review on your podcast app of choice and share us with your friends who might enjoy our show. New episodes drop every Monday. Dour Gnome Productions uses trademarks and or copyrights owned by Paizo Inc., used under Paizo's community use policy. We are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. Dour Gnome Productions is not published, endorsed, or specifically approved by Paizo. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, visit paizo.com. We are playing through the Pathfinder adventure Rusthenge by Vanessa Hoskins. Music and sound effects for this podcast by Michael Ghelfi Studios, Filip Melvin, and Kevin MacLeod. Dour Gnome Adventures is the property of Dour Gnome Productions.